All right, we'd like to welcome everybody to our Planning Commission meeting tonight for January 7th, 2020. We have all 6 members of the commission present tonight. We are going to go ahead and get started first off with the oath of office for our returning and new planning commissioners. So we'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Hatch. If you want to have step on down, we'll go ahead and start that out, and then we'll follow it up with you, Mr. Sheldon. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome to the Planning Commission. And for those who are keeping tab, we only have 6. We'll take care of number 7 in 2 weeks. The next item up is kind of a quick additional item here. We want to go ahead and give a few minutes to our new mayor. He wanted to step up to the podium just to say some words to our Planning Commission here. So, Mr. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Planning Commission, thank you for being here. First, I want to welcome your newest Planning Commissioner, Mr. Shelton. So welcome. We're glad to have you here. And also, Trish, I want to welcome you back. Thank you for your continuing service. And thank each of you for what you've done and you continue to do it. With the change that we made in West Jordan yesterday with the form of government, you're actually appointed now by the mayor, which is me, so you're now under me, as advisors to the city council. So your role will stay the same. The only part that changes is how you get there. So you will now be appointed through me. So Kent was the last person who was appointed by the council, but I will welcome him. And so next meeting you have, for Ammon here, he was my first one that I've appointed. So show him how well you are. If he does half as good as the rest of you, we'll be in good hands. So I just wanted to say, I won't come to these very often, but I will on occasion to see how you're doing, and you can see how I'm doing. But I just want to show my appreciation because often some people don't tell you thank you, and I want to say thank you. Your work is invaluable to the council, and it makes a difference, so thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate you. Moving on down our agenda, the next item on our business is the election of the chair and the vice chair for 2020. We went ahead and handled the conversation about this downstairs, and I was nominated to retain the chair, and Corbin England was nominated to be the vice chair. Any discussion to that nomination / motion?
Do we need to have a motion in a second?
What's that? We do need a motion, right? Yeah. Any discussion? Commissioner Hatch?
No discussion, I'll just make a motion to confirm.
Well, Commissioner Thomas, did you have something you wanted to add?
I'm just going to second that. So.
Okay. All right, we have a motion seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries unanimous. And then we have the appointment of 2 of our commissioners to the Design Review Committee. Again, as we talked downstairs, we discussed adding Commissioners Shelton and Thomas to this. Any further discussion before we entertain a motion? Commissioner England.
I just make a motion to appoint Kent Shelton and Jay Thomas as discussed to the Design Review Committee.
Commissioner Badon.
Second.
We have a motion seconded by Commissioner Badon. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Excellent, still unanimous. Last appointment is for one commissioner to serve on the CDBG Home Committee. And as discussed downstairs, that would be filled by Commissioner Hatch. Any further discussion or a motion? Commissioner England?
I'll make a motion to appoint Trish Hatch to the CDBG Home Committee.
And Commissioner Badon.
Second.
Excellent. Again, we have a motion from Commissioner England, seconded by Commissioner Badon. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Awesome. Everything's unanimous. And then the last item on our business for the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. And just because you weren't here doesn't mean you can't vote on this item. So, Commissioner Hatch, any conversation here?
I will make a motion, but there is one amendment that needs to be made.
Thank you.
Commissioner Badon was at the meeting, or the pre-meeting, he was just late. So with that addendum added, I will make a motion to approve.
He just wanted to make sure he was included in those minutes. Commissioner Thomas?
I'll second that.
Excellent, thank you. We have a motion with an addition by Commissioner Hatch, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Any discussion to this motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. All right, moving on to our one and only public hearing, which is why everybody's really here, right? Is to entertain the public process. It's regarding Goodwill, an application at 6968 South Redwood Road for a conditional use permit for a secondhand store in an SC2 zone. We have Chris Pasker from PGA&W Architects as the applicant. Do we have the applicant here? The floor is yours, sir. Come tell us about Goodwill and what we need to know.
Chris Pasker with PGAW Architects. Our office is 5263 South Commerce Drive, Murray, Utah. Worked in Salt Lake Valley for a number of years. So worked with Goodwill we've done about 6 projects with them in Idaho and Utah. That group covers Montana, Idaho, and Utah. And the Goodwill's broken up into different groups that work in California and across the nation. We're looking at redeveloping that existing facility that's on 7200 South and Redwood Road. I believe it was a pharmacy, as the last has been empty, unoccupied, other than periodic Halloween Town, I think, for like probably the last 4 or 5 years. It's been vacant for 10 years.
10 years.
Okay, all right. I know that we designed the Office Depot in that same front probably about 10 years ago. So as we've worked with staff on this, they've given us some recommendations so that we can meet the ordinance as far as the secondhand stores. The plan is to expand the drop-off area, so just extend the canopy out just a little bit further. All of the drop-offs will be done during their business hours. I think the only modification we had, and maybe the concern that the staff has, was that we would not leave any outdoor storage. So when goods come in, they're collected in a bin and immediately taken into the facility, so nothing is left stored on site. And I think with our application for site plan, I think the recommendation was that we screen the dumpster that we'll be installing, or the trash compactor. Other than that, we're looking to do some new paint, remove some of the tile, get rid of the diamond windows, and kind of bring that facade and that end of the building up to where the rest of it looks, fairly in line with the improvements that have been done to the north, that north building. And we're working in line with the building owners to coordinate that.
Excellent. Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Thomas?
Yeah, just one quick question.
The items such as like appliances, maybe small engines and stuff, where would you store them? Or the stuff that-
Everything that is brought in, refrigerators, small appliances, those are all stored inside the
Okay,
facility.
so nothing will be left outside?
Nothing at all, nope.
Okay.
That's good. There's not room out there for anything to be stored.
No, not at all. You know, it's very similar to a DI, you know, where they don't have any outdoor storage as well. And so we've done a number of those as well. We did the one down the street, so.
Commissioner England and Commissioner Badon.
Just a question on, there's an island to the west there with some trees. I think we were discussing in the pre-meeting some screening for that drop-off, since this fronts 70th South, which is a major road. Is that island and those trees going to stay? Is that part, that demolition?
I
going
think,
to
yeah,
occur?
the island, I believe, does stay.
Right
But
there,
I think
yep,
it's
where
being, yep.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Commissioner Badon.
I have the same question, just are we screened from 70th South for people dropping stuff off? I just don't want that to be a free-for-all open to the public. If the island there and trees screen the drop-off area, I'm very satisfied.
Yeah, and it's, you know, how often would you say we have drop-offs typically in our other facilities here?
We can't, sorry, hold on really quick. We can't hear the comments from back there, so if you want to come up and just
Yeah, come on
introduce
up.
yourself really quick, and then we can get your comment on the record.
Yeah, just maybe introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Jim Janatis. I'm the regional manager of the Goodwills in Idaho and Utah.
Thank you.
We take donations during operating hours only. It's a quick service, car hop type scenario, like they do at DI. We get those donations just during the day. We have lots of, signage and everything.
How many would you say we get an hour?
It really varies a lot. I can compare it to our Murray store just down the road. They get a total, less than 100 donations a day, somewhere in the neighborhood of 70. It's throughout the day.
So you see
5
that
or
would
6
break
an hour.
down to maybe about 4 or 5 an hour.
Okay,
So it's not like we're gonna have a line of 10 cars. I've
perfect.
never seen that in anywhere, just maybe 2 or 3, at a time.
We have one store in Missoula, Montana like that, but that's about it, and they have a huge building and facility to do it.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
One
Okay,
thing I wish we could
Yeah.
have is the free-for-all that you're asking for. That would be their best, that would be in their best scenario, but, I think with the DI up the street, they like to feed off of that because there's a certain participants that don't care to donate to DI. And so they like to carry that, so.
perfect. We'll save you some time for after the public hearing if there's anything we need you to
Okay.
respond to. Mr. Forsyth, you got this for the city.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So this will be located in the SC2 zone, which is one of the main commercial zones for the city. So the purpose of this zone is mainly for shopping centers and that contain retail and restaurants and other various commercial uses. So we think that a secondhand store is similar to your typical retail store. There's a lot of similarities there, so we think that's appropriate for the zone. As far as some of the neighboring features, so just to the north, you've got the Lucky's grocery store, and then to the west, you've got the Bicentennial Park. We figure those are, the grocery store is probably the more impactful use, just in terms of size and traffic, than, a Goodwill store, which really isn't gonna see nearly as much traffic and customer visits. So as far as the size of the store goes, they're gonna have 13,463 square feet of interior space, which should be enough for a store of this size. Just for context, the Deseret Industries store just to the south, further down on Redwood Road, this store is gonna be about a quarter size of that, so it's gonna be on a much smaller scale. As far as looking at the parking, they're good on that. They got plenty there. They're required to have at least 63 stalls per code. Just on the parcel alone, they have 73 parking spaces, plus they've got a couple hundred more on that shared parking lot to the east, so we really don't anticipate a whole lot of problems there. As the applicant mentioned, they're adding a trash compactor. It's kind of hard to see on this, but they're adding a trash compactor about right here on that southwest corner of the building. Per code, they're required to screen that with a masonry wall, and they're proposing an 8-foot masonry wall with a concrete cap, just running, let me show you here. So it'll be running from this corner out west, so parallel with the street. So that combined with the wall running along the property line to the west, where the park is, should be enough to meet the screening requirements. Other than that, the applicant did a good job of mentioning that there will be no outdoor storage. We've included that as a condition of approval, so that'll ensure that that everything's stored inside and the outdoor site remains clean. So based on these findings and those in the staff report, staff's recommending approval of the conditional permit.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Larry, I
Commissioner
just
England.
have a question. We talked about screening in the pre-meeting. I'm just confused a little bit on whether, are we worried about screening here or here? Because the drop-offs, as we know, are occurring here. Maybe you can help address that.
Well, the main concern for code requirements was just for the trash compactor and the loading areas. I don't see why we would need any screening right here, but
Well, my concern in the pre-meeting was that it would be a fairly large volume, things would be set out on the ground, but from what I've heard, the way they operate, it's kind of, the employees come out and move the stuff in, so looks like I'm out of time, so.
You are so long-winded.
So, you know, that concern, I don't think it's really valid any longer because the volume also is not as great as, DI used to be a mess, but they really upgraded their issue, or the way they deal with things, and it's not, not nearly as bad as it used to be, because they don't store anything outside either, because, yeah, that's my main concern, is that it would look junky and cluttered and that, but they don't operate that way, so, okay.
All right, any other questions for staff? Okay, this is our one and only public hearing for the evening, so if you are here to discuss the item that we've been talking about, come on forward. You've got 3 minutes to address the planning commission with any concerns or thoughts that you've got. Not everybody at once. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring this back to the planning commission for further discussion or a motion. Commissioner Badone.
I remain concerned that we have a clutter situation going down 70th. My suggestion would be to put some kind of a buffer on that berm, maybe even a taller berm and shrubbery. I just don't want people on 70th driving by and seeing what can be a junk pile. And I trust that that's not going to happen. But as a planning commissioner, my job is to look at the future. So I would like the planning commission to consider that, some kind of a buffer between the drop-off area and 70th South.
Is that something that if we found that was an issue, we could come back and say, look, we need you guys to do something more with that down the road?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I'm looking at this thinking, I know what it looks like. I drive out of that street every single day and look at that exact same spot. And I don't think it's gonna be an issue because there's not really anywhere for them to put stuff. But if it were to become an issue, as long as we can come back and say, okay, guys, come back in, we need you to raise it up, add some more trees, put up a fence, whatever. As long as we can do that, I don't think you need to impose that right now.
Well, you could right now, but you also could, if it becomes an issue. What do you think, Duncan? Would that be a condition in the future? Or I think it would be appropriate, if
Yeah, it would be appropriate.
To bring them back later if we need to. I don't know. Commissioner Bernard, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that, just articulate that on your condition.
Okay, we could make that condition 9.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, we'll go ahead, we need a motion to suspend the rules on that.
Take a motion, or I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to have the applicant come back up and discuss this.
Commissioner Hatch?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion of the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Sorry, guys, thank you. When you're requesting the screen, were you asking for more of a solid, or can we do that with landscape?
I'm okay with landscaping. I just want to make sure as people are driving by 70, they don't look at that and say, gosh, that's where the junk is being piled. So if we got a wall or a buffer or a berm with landscape, I'm comfortable with that.
I understand, so, but that wouldn't be any different than like a drive-up window then, correct? Is kind of really what we're doing, is you may have a trailer drop by and for 30 seconds or maybe 5 minutes even, as they're unloading, you know, items out of there, throwing them in a bin and walking them into the building. And so, you know, that's really what we're looking at. So is it any different than somebody driving up at a, you know, grabbing a cup of coffee when you got a line of 20 vehicles?
Let me answer your question specifically. Yes, it is different because you're taking items out of a car or out of a truck, setting them on the ground and then bringing them in, as opposed to a drive up where I go to a window and I get my McDonald's hamburger. So it is a little bit different.
Okay, so if we, so what I'm saying is if we go in and build a berm there and maybe do some evergreens we get some coverage throughout the year, then you would be
I would be
comfortable with that?
thrilled.
Well, and again, to reiterate, I don't think we need that to happen right now. It's only if we see,
If you see it being an issue.
like I said, I drive out of that street, across the street every single day. So I'm gonna keep tabs on this and let these guys know if you're piling up stuff outside.
And you're gonna
And then
put
we're gonna
my-
haul you back in here and tell you that you gotta do that. But
As
I
long
think
as you don't put me on speed dial, say, Chris, these guys are dropping off a fridge that's
I'm
sitting.
gonna let Scott put you on his speed dial. It's not my job.
All right, I think
All
we're
Okay.
good with that.
Commissioner
I
McDonough, are you
think-
okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think we've got some width in that, landscape island, so I think I'll take and personally look at that
Yeah.
and see what we can do.
If you feel like there needs to be more trees, we're never gonna say no to more trees. But I don't think we need to worry about it right this minute.
All right, good, all right, thanks.
Any other conversation, discussion here?
Oh, one more thing.
Sure. while we're at it.
Sorry. With, you know, and I know this was my guy, he introduced a masonry wall with a cap. I got thinking about that, and I know that none of that building has exposed masonry. Yeah, it's mostly stucco or painted. And so I may look at doing a facing on that wall. You know, whether it's masonry, I don't know that you guys really care if it's masonry or not. You just want a solid screen there. I would like something that ties in with the building more, that doesn't all of a sudden say, hey, guess what? The city made us put up this wall, and we're doing that. So if you're okay with
I think
that.
it's appropriate. Mr. Forsythe's nodding his head over there, so.
Okay,
We'll
all right.
amend it so it doesn't say masonry wall, but, you know,
Well, I know how you
fully
guys,
covered
you guys
screening.
on this commission can be. Say, dang it, I wanted the masonry wall, so. All right, thanks.
Yeah. All right, Commissioner England? No? You're not prepared to handle that motion?
What verbiage do you want to add for a ninth condition? I'm happy to do it, I just don't know what verbiage you want.
Help me.
Commissioner Hatch, what do you think?
I'll take a stab at making a motion.
Let's see how you feel about this.
You can second it if you like how I do this. Staff recommends, based on the information and findings set forth in the staff report and upon the evidence and explanation received today, I move that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit for Goodwill located at 6968 South Redwood Road in an SC2 zone with the conditions of approval listed on page 2 of this report, adding an additional condition of approval on number 9, that a landscape barrier be in place on the existing berm if the drop-offs and debris or whatever becomes unsightly.
Perfect. We should also mention the masonry wall to put an appropriate wall.
Yeah,
And
amend
the,
condition 2.
and amend number 2 to make the masonry wall match the exterior of the existing, or the refaced building.
Commissioner Badum.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Hatch, seconded by Commissioner Badum. Any discussion to this motion? Any issues with the changes?
None.
Excellent. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are unanimous. Thank you for coming to West Jordan. We appreciate your business.
Thanks, guys.
Anything else, guys, before we adjourn?
Yeah, we're too early, we got still an hour and a half.
Oh, we gotta fill an hour and a half.
Will you please let Mr. Bricky know that I put the pedal down to the floor on this so we can get it in time for him? All right, excellent. Well then, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.